So we're here in Houston and we're doing a client project and we had to rent some gear, so we thought it'd be a good time to test the GH4 against the A7S. So we set up a little test. It's kind of rough. We just got one light in the hotel room. But essentially what we did was we put the 18 to 35 Sigma on a speed booster, well, a cheap Chinese speed booster knockoff on the GH4 to match the framing of the 50mm Canon f1.2 on just a Metabones EF to E mount, not a speed booster, just a regular adapter to mount to the A7S. And we're filming 4K and 1080 just to kind of see the difference. And this is set wide open, so 1.8 with the speed booster, so maybe like equivalent of like f1.4. With the A7S, we stopped down a little bit on the lens, so we're shooting f2.8 to kind of match depth of field between the two cameras. ISO is a little higher because the speed booster is given a one-stop extra light here. So ISO 800 here and 1/50th degree shutter. So that's kind of the setup. This is just one test to kind of see how the two compare. We're recording internally 1080 and 4K on the GH4 to see kind of what that looks like, as well as 1080 internally on the A7S. And we also have an Atomos Shogun, so we can record 4K externally off both the cameras. One thing I should mention is that the GH4 is set to Cinelike D with contrast, and sharpness is set to 0, but contrast is -5, saturation is -5, and noise reduction is set to -5. We wanted to get as flat as we could with the GH4 because the A7S with the picture profiles are fairly flat, much flatter than Cinelike V, which is what we typically shoot with the GH4. On the A7S, we're doing picture profile 6, not 7, just because the ISO with the light in this room being limited to 3200 as the minimum with PP7 just wasn't going to work. I know a lot of people shoot S-Log2 with this camera, but I was actually doing some testing. I don't know if it's a firmware issue or a camera issue, but with all the other picture profiles except for PP5 and PP6, there was some really disgusting noise, and I can actually insert a clip of that right here. So now that you've seen that disgusting noise, that's why I'm not shooting with PP7 or any other ones. We chose PP6, which is still fairly flat with the A7S, so we wanted to match it with the GH4 as best as possible. So that's why that one's set to Cinelike D. So this is the A7S recorded at 4K with the Shogun, ProRes HQ, and I think that's all we need. This is the GH4, and I zoomed out to around 27mm to match with the A7S. I don't know if there's anything else. ProRes HQ, 4K with the Shogun. Alright, so we also want to test the low light capabilities of both these cameras. Obviously the A7S is going to destroy the GH4, but we just want to see by how much. So what we did was we still got the speed booster, same lens, same setup, and we turned off all the lights in the room except for this iPhone torch. And the GH4 is set to 6400 ISO, and the A7S is also set to 6400 ISO. This kind of equivalent with the speed booster, the Chinese speed booster, is around an f1.4. So we set the Canon 50mm lens to an f1.4 as well. And we're just going to kind of see what the noise looks like on each one of these. One thing I should note is that the iPhone torch, we're not even pointing directly at our subject, David. We're just going to bounce it off the ceiling. So right now we kind of need it because this lens right here is pretty slow. It's a f2.8 on the GH4 with no speed booster. So these ones are a little bit faster, going to pick up a little bit more light, and that directly is just, that's not very fun. We want to bounce off the ceiling and really put these cameras to the test. Yeah, you can you even see me when you do that?
Yeah, I can't see your eyeballs.
So yeah, we're going to test it out. So this is at ISO 32,000, not 3200, 32,000. GH4 doesn't go this high. GH4 maxes out at 6400. So we just decided to push the A7s. And this is ISO 128,000. Now it is, we are over by maybe a stop and a half overexposed, which is pretty incredible considering we're bouncing an iPhone torch off the ceiling. That's disgusting. What do you do with that?
Nothing. You throw it in the trash.
I mean, granted, you would never light something like this, but